when this kind of activity occurs, the wealth is shifted to the attorneys and taken from the citizens, the lay citizens. We'll be back with Eliot Bernstein. We're going to talk about Florida and the Attorney General here in Florida, and we're going to have that discussion. Don't go away. My name is Les Winston, and I host Disbar, the Florida Bar, right here on the Biz in South Florida.
In Florida, all other professionals except lawyers are governed by the Department of Business and Professional Regulation.
And increasingly people are coming to this conclusion that the judicial branch of government is itself the most dangerous branch of government.
There's a system out of control. There's no more check and balance.
Only lawyers regulate themselves through the Florida Bar. This has created a very dangerous good old boys club and a lot of rotten apples.
Yeah, they tell the other branches what they can do.
The United States Trustees Program is the largest organized criminal element in the world.
They allowed somebody to put a bomb in my car and attempt to murder my 3 children.
If some real investigative writer would ever do a study on which lawyers were ever disciplined and for what, and which ones were not, I think they'd see that there are certain members of the bar that are favored over others.
Tune in each weekday from 2 o'clock to 3 p.m. and listen to stories of individuals who have been affected by the corruption of the Florida Bar. We want you to be aware of the problem that we have with this disciplinary agency. Join us every weekday, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. right here on The Biz. And we're back. My guest this afternoon is Eliot Bernstein. Eliot, before the break, we were talking about the Attorney General. What is the Attorney General's role in all of this, in Florida in particular, let's say?
Well, in Florida, they haven't really done anything. Like in New York, their role is to cover it up. Mm-hmm. And part of that, we just applied to McCollum's office to be part of the grand jury. I mean, they want a public integrity grand jury to look into judges, et cetera. I've got a $1 trillion lawsuit, a liability to the state of Florida that they're very cognizant of. I sent him the information, and, I don't know what he sent me. He sent me the referral to Charlie Chris, who then referred me to McCollum. And
so it's going around the executive circles.
Right, and it's the ping pong game of hot potato, basically. Uh-huh. And
if you had the power to choose what should be done in this situation, what would the governor or what would the attorney general do that you would think would be the right thing to do?
Call in a federal monitor to monitor the courts, the Supreme Court, all of these plants. Look at the crimes, how, for example, regulations were dropped for the Stanford Bank. Mm-hmm. By Greenberg Traug, how these law firms are penetrating into government offices.
Who would be a federal monitor, though? Isn't a federal monitor going to be somebody in the judiciary? Is it like a shepherd or some other?
It would be a federal agency brought in to monitor the Florida courts and investigate them. See, I don't think you can do anything in Florida. Meaning, you're out of luck in this state. Because it's top down. The Supreme Court is criminal.
Right.
Jorge Labarga threw an election in the United States. He got elevated for that from a civil court in West Palm Beach with absolutely no qualifications to be a Supreme Court guy. But because of his cover-up and the Iviewit cover-up that he did, he got elevated. Mm-hmm. That's the game they play. Because in the criminal organization, if you do crime, you're not disciplined, you're rewarded. Mm-hmm. So by these lawyers, and I wouldn't even really, I've said it before on your show, these aren't lawyers. These are just criminals. They're basic, run-of-the-mill criminals. Anybody who's got a law degree who figures out that, hey, if we take over the legal system and don't enforce any of the laws, we could do a lot of crime. Mm-hmm. Well, look what's happened to our country, and it's all lawyers. And none of the lawyers are getting admonished. And we find in New York that where Wall Street lawyers are supposed to be regulated, that there's a cleaner in the House of Ethics cleaning and whitewashing complaints against all the lawyers that could be held accountable for the meltdown. And all of that meltdown and all these synthetic CDOs that were written and all this crap. were all written by lawyers.
Well, that's what nobody wants to face up to. They all are blaming
we
corporate
all
America.
Want to face up to it, but nobody can do anything about it.
Well, no, but there's this issue that corporatism or the corporate world is corrupt. Bull. It's not the corporate world that's corrupt without having somebody advise it how to be corrupt. And that's what's going on.
And actually writing the documents, the instruments.
Yeah.
It's not like they're passive advice here that says, hey, you might be a little bit shady on reporting that this way or that way.
Right.
These are the guys writing the CDOs. These are the guys writing these mortgages.
Yeah.
That say there's no income verification, so tell people to lie about their income.
Right. And
who thought? The lawyers didn't know that?
Who came up with that? Exactly. How did that happen?
It was all lawyers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we look at what's going on at the regulatory bodies. Look at the lawyers. It Madoff, as I said, the regulators are all from law firms.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're running a Ponzi and you're a law firm, and these Ponzi's, I call them law firm money laundering schemes.
Mm-hmm.
Because from all their stolen money, they put them into these Ponzi's,
right.
And I don't really think they're Ponzi's. I think they are the laundering arm of the criminal organization. Mm-hmm. Remember, when you got this much dirty money, a laundering machine just doesn't cut it here.
All right, listen, I want to break here, Eliot. We're going to come back to you after this break, but we want to air a rap song from an anonymous party that I've contributed to, and I want to air it here before the show ends. So don't go away.
Okay.
This is the way it's supposed to work.
Yes, it's a problem we must face it right now, in this place. Get rid of the bars, stop all the corrupt, end it right away. Yes, I mean abrupt. I'm sick of all the flaws, just follow the laws. All of y'all fake, just like Santa Claus. Time to fix the system, yes, I demand. End the Florida bar, it's our time to expand. You can try and see it happening to you, but you won't know the pain till it comes right through. Corruption will bite you real hard, yeah, it's true. They can take your whole life savings, rob you, dominate you, screw you, leave you without a clue, freeze you, they're cold, built in the devil's mold, all ages, young and old, lawyers and corruption, go hand in hand like 9/11 and destruction, the hook will say it all, about how I'd like to see the Florida ball fall.
This is the way it's supposed to work. For example, if you have a complaint against an attorney, you file the complaint with the Florida Bar. It's a grievance that you lodge against the attorney. The Florida Bar gives that attorney an opportunity to answer the grievance. Based on the answer from the attorney and based on your complaint, they determine whether there's probable cause for that to move forward. Once the Florida Bar determines that there's no probable cause, there is no authority above that you can go to appeal that ruling. It is the most dangerous entity in the state. It is run by King Jack Harkness, who has been there for almost 40 years. He has been able to hold these two positions, one as the head of the Florida Bar, which is an arm of the Supreme Court and a government agency, and also sits as a member of the board of directors of a private for-profit insurance company, which insures lawyers against malpractice, which is owned and operated by members of the Florida Bar. That is the most significant conflict of interest there could be, and nobody has done a thing about it.
Yes, it's a problem we must face it right now, in its place.
Now, we have been collecting sworn statements that the individuals are willing to bear testimony against the Florida Bar officials for obstruction of justice and or the failure to provide honest services. I call it the judiciary against whistleblower success. Jaws. Dum, 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 dum. It's the sharks. They smell blood in the water and they will do everything in their power to get the carcass. The whistleblowers are now coming out against the Florida Bar.
I'm sick of all the flaws, just follow the laws. All of y'all fake, just like Santa Claus. Time to fix the system, yes, I demand. End the Florida Bar, it's our time to expand.
The Florida Bar has either obstructed justice or has committed honest services fraud. It's a government agency that is not doing what it's supposed to do for the people of Florida. Now, the grand jury is a process that was a way for the average citizen to go to other average citizens and tell the story of what was done to them by governmental agencies or by agencies, and you would have an opportunity before the grand jury to testify, to air your grievances, to be heard. That has been derailed.
Dominate you, screw you, leave you without a clue, freeze you, they're cold, built in the devil's mold, all ages, young and old, Lawyers and corruption go hand in hand like 9/11 and destruction.
Governor Christ, he said we need to have a grand jury to ferret out corruption in government, corruption in agencies. Corruption has to be ferreted out. Well, here we are bringing to the governor, bringing to the attorney general, the grand jury, the opportunity for them to ferret out corruption, and they're turning a blind eye because they're a gatekeeper protecting their process.
Yes, it's a problem we must face.
That's why it's the judiciary against whistleblower success.
Face it right now, in its place.
This is a mockery of the judicial process in the state of Florida, and it has to stop. Who has the cojones to be able to take on this system? This is Disbar, the Florida Bar. I am your host, Les Winston. I come to you every day from 2 to 3 p.m. here on The Biz. The Florida Bar is the most corrupt organization in the state of Florida. Corrupt. Conflicted. John Harkness, the executive director of the Florida Bar, should have been thrown out long ago. He's affecting commerce in the state of Florida. He's violating antitrust laws, violating honest services. He's violating the principles of good governance in the state with complete and total impunity. It's time for this to stop.
Yes, it's a problem we must face. Face it right now, in its place.
Jesse Diner, who was the president of the Florida Bar, said, well, 1% are rotten apples. Well, 1% of 70,000 is 700. Rogue attorneys can do a huge amount of damage, and nothing gets done to them because you can't get past the Florida Bar's inability to correct the problem. The Florida Bar is toothless only when it comes to your complaint, but if a powerful attorney makes a complaint against another attorney as a whistleblower, that attorney needs to watch their back. This is a nightmare in the state of Florida. John Harkness is a corrupt official in the state of Florida. He needs to be tried operating a government agency and working for a private for-profit insurance company. I'm saying it to you right now, I will testify against John Harkness. This is like running the mob. We have racketeering going on at its highest level in the Florida Bar.
You can try and see it happening to you, but you won't know the pain till it comes right through. Corruption will bite you real hard, yeah, it's true. They can take your whole life savings, rob you, dominate you, screw you, leave you without a clue, freeze you, they're cold.
When are we going to get some justice? And the Supreme Court of Florida is sitting on their hands because they're afraid of the Florida Bar. They must be, because they wouldn't be operating as if they have no responsibility for it. The Florida Bar needs to be removed as the disciplinary arm for lawyers in the state. At least the head of the Florida Bar needs to be removed, and all the people that are under him who are corrupted by his activity. And it has to stop.
My job is to make sure that you do your job. So my jurisdiction's pretty much in your face.
The eyes of the nation are on us right now.
There you have the rap song of the year, folks. This is the theme of Disbar, the Florida Bar. My guest, the early part of the show, was Eliot Bernstein for the most of the show, and we're going to continue this interview on our next show. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same station here on The Biz for Disbar, the Florida Bar.